Imagine a person who has always seemed untouchable in relationships. They walk into a room and eyes follow them, not just because of charm or confidence, but because they make others feel seen and needed. For years, they have navigated love like a game of strategy, keeping people close enough to admire them but never letting anyone truly in. Their world revolves around attention, admiration, and the sense of indispensability. Then, one day, someone comes along who sees them, not the persona, not the image, but the real person beneath. Someone who loves them for who they truly are, flaws, fears, and all. For the first time, they feel seen in a way they never imagined. It is exhilarating, almost terrifying, because real love cannot be controlled or manipulated. It simply exists, steady and unwavering. But then that love slips away, not through betrayal or cruelty, but because authenticity cannot be contained. Suddenly, the person who has relied on control and admiration is confronted with something unprepared for: emptiness. The emotional fuel they depended on is gone. They are faced with their own vulnerabilities and the reality that love cannot be commanded. The mirror they relied on, the reflection of themselves through someone else's eyes, is gone. For a narcissist, losing someone who truly loved them is existential. They have built much of their identity around the reactions, attention, and approval of others. When that validation disappears, a vacuum forms. Unlike most people, they struggle to self-soothe or find internal comfort. Their inner world, carefully constructed to hide inadequacies, starts to crack. Real love is not performative. It does not hinge on flattery or control. It sees them fully and stays. Losing it confronts them with their dependence, often subconsciously. At first, they may try to distract themselves with old tactics: charm, attention-seeking, manipulation, but these methods no longer work. The person who provided unconditional acceptance is gone. The pain manifests as irritability, rumination, or attempts to rewrite the past to restore control. For someone accustomed to invincibility, this is a blind spot. Real love is rare because they are used to relationships fueled by surface-level charm, control, or admiration. Losing it triggers confusion, fear, and a profound sense of vulnerability. Narcissists thrive on control, not just socially, but emotionally. Being in control is how they feel safe and powerful. Losing someone they genuinely loved removes that safety. They cannot charm, coerce, or manipulate love back into existence. The emotional landscape becomes unpredictable, anxiety-inducing, and destabilizing. Attempts to regain control, provoking jealousy, rewriting history, seeking new sources of supply, often fail, creating a crushing sense of powerlessness. Their self-image, long curated through others' reactions, now faces exposure. Vulnerability rises to the surface. Memories of the relationship intensify. They may idealize moments or replay conversations, trying to reconcile the loss with their need for validation. Real love reflected a version of themselves they cannot control, and losing it shakes the scaffolding of their identity. Internally, this can spark a rare self-confrontation. Why did this person see through me? Why did my usual strategies fail? Why does losing this love feel so devastating? Narcissists oscillate between denial, anger, and fleeting insight. They may blame circumstances or rewrite the story to protect their ego. But underneath, there is an awareness. The love they lost was authentic. It reflected a version of themselves they cannot command, and it cannot be replaced by superficial attention or manipulation. Losing real love forces a narcissist to confront the fragility of their self-image, the limits of control, and the reality that not everything in life or love can be owned, manipulated, or commanded. It is painful, destabilizing, and transformative, even if the transformation is slow and often resisted. For the first time, they are faced with a mirror they cannot ignore, themselves stripped of the validation they have always relied upon. The intensity of this experience is amplified by the rarity of such love. Narcissists often encounter people who admire them superficially, responding to charm or manipulation. Real love, however, is persistent, patient, and perceptive. It sees beyond the surface and connects with the person beneath the armor. Losing someone who genuinely understood and cared for them forces a narcissist to confront the emptiness beneath the facade, the parts of themselves never nurtured, the emotional skills they never developed, and the vulnerabilities they have long hidden. For some, this confrontation is fleeting, pushed aside by new distractions or attempts to regain control. For others, it marks the start of a slow, uncomfortable journey towards self-awareness. Even if change is not immediate, the loss plants a seed of recognition. They cannot rely solely on charm, control, or attention to sustain meaningful connections. Real love is not a possession. It is a reflection of who they could be when authentically seen. Externally, narcissists often appear confident, composed, or indifferent. They may joke about the loss, act aloof, or convince themselves and others they were unaffected. But internally, the story is different. They are rarely equipped to process emotions deeply. When real love leaves, it can trigger sadness, fear, anger, anxiety, even despair. The absence of someone who truly cared leaves them hollow. The contrast between their calm exterior and inner storm is stark, even confusing for them. One of the most destabilizing aspects of this loss is recognizing they cannot charm, manipulate, or control their way back into the relationship. In the past, attention and subtle tactics maintained connections, but real love operates beyond manipulation. This inability to control contradicts their long-held belief in invincibility, producing confusion, obsession, and relentless rumination. They replay conversations and interactions, searching for answers, idealizing moments, and minimizing their own contributions to the loss. This is less about reflection and more about trying to regain a sense of power over something beyond their influence. Despite this turmoil, narcissists maintain a polished exterior. Vulnerability feels like weakness, so sadness may be masked with anger, sarcasm, or detachment. Outsiders may see someone unaffected, yet intense internal upheaval persists. Losing real love is not just losing companionship. It is losing connection to someone who truly understood them. For someone accustomed to being seen only through a crafted image, this type of loss is acute. They face the reality that someone saw the real them and chose to leave, intensifying emptiness, confusion, and shame. The internal collapse may manifest subtly through anxiety, irritability, restlessness, or insomnia. Attempts to fill the void with distractions, superficial attention, or fleeting connections often fail. The connection they lost was authentic, irreplaceable. Losing it shatters the illusion of control they have relied upon to maintain composure. They feel as though their internal framework is weakening, forcing confrontation with the fragility of their emotional world. This duality, outward poise and inward turmoil, is defining. The internal struggle is profound but often invisible. Losing real love forces narcissists into conflict they cannot easily navigate. The facade of confidence clashes with raw, unprocessed emotions, revealing the limits of control, the depth of emotional dependence, and the fragility of their constructed self-image. One of the most persistent struggles is obsession with regret and idealization. Unlike typical heartbreak, narcissists fixate on the what-ifs and on ways to regain control, replaying the relationship repeatedly. This mental replay often magnifies the relationship in memory, emphasizing positive moments and minimizing conflict. Idealization rationalizes loss while intensifying the pain of helplessness. They may feel both longing for and resentment toward the person who left. Regret is less about self-growth and more about lamenting the loss of what cannot be controlled. They may feel injustice that someone who truly cared could leave, challenging their belief in entitlement to admiration, attention, and loyalty. They analyze every word and gesture, holding on to compliments and shared moments as proof of the love they lost, while replaying arguments or moments of vulnerability to justify hurt or betrayal. This exhausting tug-of-war leaves them trapped in reflection without resolution. Underlying this is the wounded ego. Narcissists construct themselves as desirable, powerful, and indispensable. Losing someone who genuinely loved them threatens that image. Longing stems from the authenticity of the love lost. Anger stems from helplessness. Despite efforts, they could not control or command it. This mix of emotions creates confusion, leaving them unsure whether to idealize, mourn, or rationalize the loss.